We're almost at the end of the year, and there's so many important things that you need to be doing in your financial plan and also in your investments to keep you on track, keep your plan moving forward, and set you up for success in 2026. On today's show, we're going to talk about all the smart year-end money moves that you should be making right now to move forward towards your goals. I'm Brad Lineberger, Certified Financial Planner.
And I'm Matt Callahan, Certified Financial Planner. And this is Navigating Retirement. Let's jump in.
There's so many smart year-end money moves that you can be making right now, and we're going to dive in and talk about a few of them. But first, how did we get to the end of the year already?
I can't even believe it. We're in November, and I have the biggest question before we jump in is that when is the right time to put up Christmas lights? Because we haven't even got to Thanksgiving yet, and I'm seeing them in the neighborhood.
My neighbor put it up on October 1st. Awesome. I was fired up when I came home and saw the light. So I think it's never too early.
Okay. All right.
I think do it as early as you want to.
Check one. We got the checkbox one.
All right. So when it comes to year-end money moves, the first thing you should be thinking about doing is tax gain harvesting or tax loss harvesting, depending on your situation.
Yeah, I mean, this year was very interesting in terms of the beginning of the year was very volatile. So hopefully you were doing some tax loss harvesting at the beginning of this year. And the wonderful thing is that there was volatility and people could have locked in some losses on their portfolios in their taxable accounts. Right. And now we're getting close to the end of the year and portfolios are up. So maybe it's a good opportunity to tax gain harvest and use those losses to offset their gains and rebalance your portfolio.
Absolutely. So just to be clear, tax loss harvesting is a process that, and this is your taxable accounts only, not your retirement accounts. But when the account's down, you sell it. If an investment in your account is down, sell it, lock in the loss, which helps you from a tax perspective. But you've listened to us long enough and you know that you don't ever want to be out of the market. So you're going to replace the position you sold with something that's going to keep the portfolio in line, but help you participate in the recovery when it happens. And those losses, if you're doing this correctly back in April of this year, or maybe it was 2022, they can now be used to help you tremendously as you're rebalancing, which I think is the second year-end thing we got to talk about.
Yeah, rebalancing is the act of getting your portfolio back to the appropriate asset allocation. Right. So for another way to say it, your relationships between stocks and bonds.
Yep.
So if you're targeting an 80% stock portfolio and 20% bonds, and I know it was different this year, but let's say it drops to 70% stock and 30% bonds, you may want to rebalance, sell some of the winners to buy the loser.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think even inside of the stock to bond ratio, I think that's the first place you go. And then you start to look under the hood and you look at that relationship. And it starts with, you got to have a good asset allocation. Mm-hmm. You have to have a plan and a strategy. But once you do, you've identified how much of the portfolio do you want in big U.S. companies, small U.S. companies, maybe medium U.S. companies, big international, small international, emerging markets, real estate, corporate debt, government debt, and you're studying the relationship of each of those holdings. Mm-hmm. And those that are up, you're trimming and you're buying into those that are down. And that disciplined process without emotion is going to help to control and manage risk in the portfolio, but also it's going to give you better long-term returns over time.
And this could be a great opportunity. We hear it too frequently of people just investing in the S&P 500, and they've done wonderful over these last several years. And now it may be a great opportunity, hopefully in an IRA or your 401k, to rebalance the full portfolio to something more globally diversified.
Absolutely. Valuations in the S&P are stretched. It's basically it was priced to perfection at one point. And so there's now been a lot of volatility around this. So rebalancing is more important than ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing, before the end of the year, looking at your qualified retirement accounts. So we're saying your 401ks or anything you have through work, and the dollars need to be coming out of your paycheck. So the opportunity here is that if you're not on track to max out for the year, you've got a few more pay periods left this year to maybe make some adjustments to the percentages that are going into your plan to make sure that you're maxing those out this year.
I've even seen it where people realize, whoops, they forgot to increase over the last few years, and the IRS every year tends to increase how much you can save. So if this is catching you off guard, you can actually defer up to 100% of your paycheck. If you had some cash that you could live on for a few weeks, a month, whatever, you can take that strategy and defer as much as you need to to kind of to true up and make sure that you max out that savings.
Yeah, and another thing, financial planning topic, if this pertains to you, but if you have restricted stock units, could be an opportunity to sell some of those if they've been vested to live on that cash while you max out your plan or fill up your after-tax component.
So you're kind of rebalancing and then using that process to then help you max out the 401k. Now, when it comes to the IRA and the Roth IRA, technically, you don't have to make the contribution by the end of the year. You have until April 15th of the next year to get it in for this year. I always like to say, if you've got the cash, you might as well get it invested.
Well, there's an old saying, it says, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, right? And then, so when's the second best time to plant a tree? It's as soon as you have the seed. So same thing with investments. If you have the dollars, like you said, just plant the investments as soon as possible. Get those dollars working for you.
Right. January tends to be a good year in the markets. Q1 typically tends to start strong. You can't time it or predict it. However, if you've got the money, I say just get the investment.
But I mean, if you don't have the dollars and you just need those few extra months, maybe the year-end planning opportunity is to save dollars so that you can max out for next year or for this year, but in next year.
Right.
And some people will go, well, I don't have enough to max out the account. I'm just going to do a contribution for accounting for next year. Well, hold on, don't do that. Even if you can't max it out, let's just contribute for the prior year, and that still gives you the opportunity to be able to fund for this year.
Right.
Yeah.
So once the year's gone, it's gone. You never get it back.
Right.
Yeah. And on that same note, another investment vehicle that you absolutely want to make sure you max out is your health savings account or your HSA.
I call this one secret bucket number 4 because basically 3 places to put your money to grow for you. But this 4th bucket, the HSA, a lot of the stars have to align for it to work properly. But if you have a high deductible health plan and you can get an HSA and then you can fund that HSA, you actually get a tax deduction to make contributions that you can invest the dollars within there and they grow tax deferred. And then if you use those dollars for qualified medical, you can actually take those out tax free as well.
Triple tax advantage.
And
nothing like it on the planet.
The only thing out there, and here's another thing, the only thing out there, this is the only account that lets you reimburse yourself for those qualified medical expenses into the future. It doesn't have to be in that year.
Right.
And so what I mean by that, let's say you have $1,000 of medical expenses this year. If you can pay out of pocket instead of using your HSA, let that $1,000 grow. And let's just say in 10 years, it's grown to $5,000. I'm making up numbers, but now you could reimburse yourself that $1,000 and that original amount grew $4,000. So you have your dollars working for you longer.
I love that strategy. I tell people all the time, max your HSA, invest it for growth, and always pay your doctor bills out of pocket. And they're like, why? I've got my HSA. Just for that point there is, I like to see you compound and grow that money. It's coming out tax-free. You could consider using that money for long-term care expenses way down the road.
And some people will get kind of weary about that strategy because they're like, well, I heard there's a penalty, a 25% penalty if I don't use it for medical expenses. And I'm going to be one of the lucky ones. And so I don't want a lot of dollars stuck in that HSA. But the beauty of it is, I don't know the age, 60 or 65 maybe. Right. You can take the dollars out for anything with no penalty, but just realize it's going to be taxed as ordinary income if you use that.
Right.
So no fear of getting dollars left in there.
Absolutely. Yeah, but the reality is 3 out of 4 of us are going to need long-term care help with it.
Yeah.
I know. We're optimistic. I'm the 1 in 4 that is.
But also, so a lot of people get the HSAs confused with their FSAs. So everything we just talked about is for HSAs, the health savings account, because it's not a use it or lose it, as opposed to the flex savings account, FSA, where it is a use it or lose it. So if your company is providing income into that, or you're putting dollars in there, use those dollars before the end of the year. So there's the planning point for the FSA.
That's a great point. And because once it rolls over into next year, you lose the money. Right. Okay. Okay. So obviously the year end is right around the corner. Get your charitable contributions in on time. So make sure that if you're donating money to charity or church, you definitely want to get that contribution in as soon as you can. Now, what's interesting for those folks who are no longer itemizing, next year there's a new rule coming out that if you're taking the standard deduction, you also are charitably inclined, you can get an extra $1,000 deduction per person, so $2,000 if you're married filing jointly, on top of that standard deduction if you're giving money.
Yeah, so that'll be a good tax planning opportunity next year for some people. The other thing that you could look into, if you're charitably inclined and you're at least 70 and a half years old, then you can do what's called a qualified charitable distribution.
Love it.
So a QCD. And this can be dollars coming out of your IRA going directly to a charity, and it's non-taxable to you. So what that does is it allows you to still give if that's what you want to do, but then not have any taxes due to
Doesn't
yourself.
hit your tax return. It is the best way, if you're charitably inclined, to lower those future required minimum distributions. I love QCDs.
Yeah, and that's the planning point. Some people will think, well, 70 and a half, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense because RMDs are now pushed out 72, 73, 75, depending. And so, yeah, it can help reduce that account size now to then in the future reduce those required
And
distributions.
if you're going to be giving money to charity or church anyways, might as well do it from a bucket that you're going to have a future tax bill on to lower that future tax bill.
And it is a little complicated. You want to make sure the dollars aren't going to you and then you give into the charity. It has to be completed correctly and made out to the 501c3.
Right. And not hit your bank account or your hands. Right. You're right. There's some mechanics to it, but if you follow the rules, it's such a good play. Such a good play. Okay. So year-end planning, Roth conversions. We love Roth conversions when appropriate. Not everybody is a good fit for this, but Roth conversion is the process of taking money out of your traditional IRA, paying the tax bill on it now, and putting it or converting it into your Roth IRA so it can grow tax-free. Know the rules. You got to be at least 59 and a half to take it out tax-free. It's got to have been in there for 5 years. But as long as you play by the rules, you're now going to get tax-free growth and distributions for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and these Roth conversions, it's not an all or nothing kind of thing. You could do $1, you could do $1 million, whatever makes sense for you.
Uncle Sam wants you to do $1 million, so you pay the
yeah.
highest federal tax rate.
Yeah, and just keep that in mind. I mean, that could bump you up into other tax brackets. You could be turning your 0% long-term capital gains to 15. You
Or
could
20.
Be, or 20, right? You could be increasing your Medicare premiums. So
Burma.
a lot of things to consider here, but it can make a lot of sense. But the reason we put it on this list, this is one of the things that needs to be done before year end. So
Absolutely.
if you did it next year, then that doesn't count for the Roth conversion this year.
And so two strategies that we like when it comes to Roth conversions. Number one, if you find yourself in the 10 or the 12% bracket, you should be converting all day long. We're doing, pounding the table here, convert, because tax rates are on sale. Yes, the one big beautiful bill made the tax rates permanent. I don't believe for 1 second that the rates we see today are going to be what we have forever. So convert while you can. And if you're in the 10 or 12, I would say convert all the way up to the top of the 12%. Now, if you're in the 22 or 24, that's a gray area. And you have to look at your future required minimum distributions and the tax consequences of those. But I would even give consideration for those people in the 22 or 24. Maybe you find yourself midway through the 22. You could convert just up to the top of it for this year. And again, to your point, it's got to be done by December 31st, so don't delay.
Well, and so you say the gray area in the 22, 24. I used to think the exact same thing. I've kind of changed my thinking now that the 22%, I don't think that's necessarily a gray area anymore. I mean, if the tax code was supposed to sunset at the end of this year, like people were saying, I mean, 22 was going to 25.
Right. And the dollar amounts were coming down. So more of your money got stuffed up into higher brackets.
So 22 going to 25, 24 was going to 28. So, I mean, you're saving 3 or 4% taxes today as opposed to what they were going to be the end of this year. I know they're locked in for forever, but forever doesn't mean that they're not going to change.
Well, and the cool thing about those conversions is if you've got kids, your kids are going to inherit that when you and your spouse pass, and then your kids are going to have 10 more years where they don't have to take out those RMDs and it's not taxed because Roths don't have RMDs. They'll have 10 more years of tax-free growth. Shoot, if they get, say, a 7% compound growth rate for 10 years, they're going to double whatever the account balance was at your death. It's going to double in the 10 years after you go.
Yeah. So great wealth transfer strategy looking at that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So get that done on time. Okay. You got to make sure that you're doing your year-end tax planning. So what should give the audience some nuggets about kind of thoughts on year-end tax planning?
Yeah, just making sure if you do have mutual funds or any other investments that are spitting out capital gains or things that you need to be aware of, and make sure that there's no landmines that you're running into, or if you need to make estimated tax payments, that could be a big one that you
Right.
need to be aware of.
Get that in on time.
I
Work with
actually
your
learned
tax pro.
something new the other day is that let's say that you didn't make estimated tax payments throughout the year, and say you need to take distributions from an IRA or have a required distribution.
Yeah.
One distribution at the end of the year and withholding the taxes there, they do a pro rata against it. So then you eliminate that penalty
Good.
on your taxes. So it spreads it out over the year if you happen to be running into a potential penalty.
And the other one on year-end tax planning is just take a look at your income, especially if you're on Social Security or maybe newly on Social Security. Depending on your income, up to 85% of that Social Security income could be taxable. So you can actually consider having taxes withheld from your Social Security payments. Maybe getting late in the year for you to do it for this year, but definitely consider, and you're going to want to fill out form W4V. And I believe you can withhold, it's very structured. It's like 7, 10, 12, and 22%.
I'm super impressed that you have that number off the top of your head.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah. And then the other thing, maybe you want to fill up tax brackets. So maybe if you're in the 12% bracket, maybe taking an extra distribution, whether you need it or not, you could park it in a money market outside of the IRA, and now you've got 4% growth on that.
Or the conversion.
Or conversion,
But just
yeah, right.
Using whatever room you have in your bracket to kind of manage your brackets, doing smart things while you're there.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. This is a no-brainer, guys, but if you are taking required minimum distributions, do make sure that you take it out by December 31st. I think most folks that have IRAs do this, but sometimes we see them forget.
The thing we run into is that people that have IRAs and 401ks, then it gets messy because they think that they can commingle the total value of the 401k
Right.
and the IRA and just do one distribution.
Yeah.
That's not the case. They are technically different accounts. So you would have to take a distribution from your IRA and your distribution from your 401k. As opposed to if you rolled that 401k into your IRA, now it's just the one distribution.
And the one I see that trips people up is if let's say people have inherited an IRA, you know, from Aunt Sue or from mom or dad or whatever. Sometimes they forget that depending on when they inherited it, pre 2020 or post 2019, they have to be taking required minimum distributions to meet the rules.
Right. Yeah. And so the other thing you want to make sure to do, kind of piggybacking back onto what we started with the qualified plans, is if you're 50 or over. So in the year you turn 50, you can now take advantage of catch-up contributions.
Right.
So $7,500 for this year.
Yeah.
And if you're 60 to 63, there's now Super Saver catch-up?
That's right,
Yeah.
11,250.
Yeah. So a total of 11,250
Extra.
over. Yeah.
So do that.
Again, so if you need to change your settings or your withholdings on your paycheck, make sure to do that.
A little bit of time. Right. Okay, this is always a good time of year to review the beneficiaries across all of your accounts, not just your retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs, but also on your life insurance policies, your bank accounts. Make sure your bank accounts are registered correctly. But reviewing beneficiaries, I tell you, it's so important because you think you've got it all buttoned up, but it's letter of the law. So if you have the wrong person, maybe it's an ex-spouse, maybe it's a friend or sibling or somebody who's passed away and no longer with us, it really can create complications at your passing if your beneficiaries aren't buttoned up.
Yeah, I think that's an easy thing to just check off the list. Every year, make it a habit of just reviewing those beneficiaries. Things change throughout the year, so just, double check that.
Yeah. Okay, year end, I think this is always a great time to stress test your financial plan as you're heading into the 2026. Just make sure that all the assumptions in your plan are lined up and dialed in and that your probability of success is high.
And even doing the pre-planning for going into next year, what are some of the big expenses that are coming up next year? What are some of the trips that you may be taking next year? And just, stress testing to make sure that we're on track still.
Yep. Okay, so year end, this is a great time to think about a donor advised fund, which is an investment account that when you make a contribution to it, you get to control and manage the account, but your contribution then becomes tax deductible and you don't necessarily have to give it away to charity immediately. You can grow the balance in there and give it away in the future. But a donor advised fund is a really good thing to be considering.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But just know that once you do make the contribution into that type of account, it's irrevocable. So that's they're no longer your dollars. They have to go to a 501c3 at that point.
Right. Now, for folks that are no longer itemizing, we were talking about some strategies earlier. There's another strategy called bunching and clumping or lumping and clumping, whatever you want to call it. But it's essentially your charitable contributions. If if you don't have enough itemized deductions to get yourself over the standard deduction, you're going to take the standard deduction. And at least this year, we talked about next year it changes. Beyond the standard deduction, you can give an extra $1,000 per person or $2,000 per couple above and beyond the standard deduction. That will give you a write-off. But in 2025, that rule's not in play yet. So you could consider lumping and clumping, which is making a donation to church or charity, making a big one that's going to count for, say, 3 years worth of your giving. And then in the other 2 years, you take the standard deduction. And in the 1 year where you make the big gift, then you get to take itemized deductions.
Right. So another way to say is you're giving the same amount over those years. It's just instead of giving every year, you're giving every few years or so. And we know everyone gives for the right reasons and want to, give to their charities or churches. So sometimes it doesn't sit well for doing it for, not giving every year, but it is really helping you from a tax perspective.
Absolutely. And speaking of gifting, make sure that if family gifting is part of your strategy, make that gift by December 31st. For 2025, you can gift $19,000 per person, and it doesn't cost them anything in taxes. It doesn't lower your lifetime estate tax exemption. It's basically under the radar screen. So if for estate planning purposes, get the gift in. So a married couple could do 19 and 19 would be $38,000 per kid. I do recommend that you write 2 separate checks, 19 and 19, so it's very clear. Because if you were to combine it and gift 38,000, the IRS could say, well, that's above 19, but do it smartly.
And then the other planning opportunity there is that if you're in a high tax bracket and that you want to gift dollars and they're all tied up in your taxable account, there could be a lot of gains in there.
Yes.
You could actually gift your kids shares of the stock or the holding that you have.
Love that.
And so no tax to you. Basis gets transferred over to the kids, but maybe they're in a tax bracket where they're paying 0% capital gains.
Absolutely. So the overall family tax bill is lowered. You accomplish your goal of charitable giving and helping to take care of the kids in a tax efficient way.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. I think that the end of the year is a really good time to put your eyeballs on your insurance policies. We've seen a lot of changes in the insurance marketplace. Sometimes people find themselves underinsured, or maybe they're paying too much money. This is a good time of year to just kind of take stock of those insurance policies that you have and make sure you've got the right ones in place.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
And then, of course, Medicare. As you're heading into next year, make sure that you've made the right Medicare decision. It's not too late. We got open enrollment here for a little while longer.
Yeah, and remember, you can apply for Medicare three months before your 65th birthday.
Yeah. And then, of course, make sure that you're reviewing your health insurance options and that you make a good decision here for what health insurance you want to have heading into next year.
And I think maybe even number one out of this, make sure that you're prioritizing your own health. I mean, all of this stuff doesn't necessarily matter as much as if you're not taking care of yourself. And we just know that that's going to really set yourself up for a new year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the last one here, my favorite, is really reviewing goals and kind of taking stock of the big picture. I really enjoy the year-end period where I just reflect on what's happened in the preceding year, and I think about what's ahead next year and really what's ahead for the next 5 and 10 years. And I think it's a good opportunity to just reassess those goals and set some good ones for next year.
And I have to let you know, he's not lying. He puts his little list inside his bathroom little cupboards and just looks at them every day.
Yeah, but the problem is I see the same okay, lose 5 pounds, be nicer to the kids, more gentle with the kids, don't lose my temper.
Yeah.
Every year.
But it's the good act of at least writing it down. That's baby steps forward.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying. So this is a great time of year to do that. Yeah. And anyways, we hope that we've given you some really helpful hints and nuggets here that you can apply to your own financial planning to set yourself up for success for 2026 and beyond. We're really excited about what's ahead. And if you have any questions or you need some help with goal setting and doing some of these smart year-end moves, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We do this every day. We love what we do. We love who we get to do it with. And if you're out there and need some help, get in touch. We'd love to talk to you.
And that's the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to give us a like and subscribe. And if you want to watch past episodes, be sure to visit us at navigatingretirement.net.